What's going on, guys? Stefan here with you, S&E's Garage. Today we're going to be tackling the front brakes on our 2016 Lexus GS-F. Now the front brakes on this Lexus are absolutely massive. Here we have very large Brembo 6-piston calipers, and then we have our very large slotted rotor. Now if you take a look in here, you'll see, if I can get you in there, there you go, there is not very much brake pad left there. So these front brakes are very low, and at the edge of the rotor we have a measurable lip. You can feel it if you rub your finger across it. So the rotors are due for replacement, the pads are due for replacement. Let's go ahead and check this side out. You'll see the same thing. There's not a whole lot of brake pad left. There's probably about 3 millimeter. And we have that same lip here on the rotor. Now, we are not replacing these with OEM branded brakes. We are using an OEM equivalent. So for the pads, we're going to be using these Brembo pads here. These are the same manufacturer as the original equipment. So I'll go ahead and leave these in the video description below. You'll see here they are premium ceramic pads, so they should not dust. They are the OE supplier, like it says and like I said. And what's great about these Brembo pads is they actually come with new wear sensors, so you don't have to replace them separately. And then for the rotors, we went with some dynamic friction geospec. The geospec rotor series is a coated rotor. So you'll see here it does have a rust preventative coating. Here in New Jersey, we do live in the Salt Belt, and we are pretty close to the Barnegat Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. So coated rotors go a long way. They help make the rotor look better for longer. They keep this top hat here from rusting, and they last longer. Now these are directional. So for the left front, you are going to have a 614-75038D. That is for the left side. And for the right side, you're going to have a 614-75037D. So that's what you're going to need. Again, I'm going to link those in the video description down below as well. If you buy from those links, it does help the channel greatly. So with that being said, let's go ahead. We're going to get our low profile jack over there. We're going to jack this side of the car up. We'll tackle this side, and then we'll move over there. Alright guys, so to take these wheels off, we're going to be using an impact gun, but we're also going to be using these plastic coated sockets that I use on all of my cars with alloy wheels. They help prevent you from scratching the lug bores of the wheel. So we're going to go ahead and use them. They are 21 millimeter, and we're going to zip this wheel off. Now I will leave a link in the video description below for these sockets as well. Like I said, they really do help protect your wheels from scratches and other damage. Okay, go ahead and put our lug nuts to the side. And knock our wheels loose. Alright guys, so off camera we just kind of wipe this caliper down to make it a little bit cleaner. But the first thing I like to do here is I'll get a screwdriver in between here and the pad, and here in the pad, so basically in between the rotor and the pad, and I'll go ahead and I'll compress these calipers right at this point. That way when I take them apart, the pads are ready to just drop out. So we're going to go ahead and do that very quickly, and then I'll show you what we're left with. Alright guys, so if you look here, once it focuses, you'll see the big gap we have now in between the pads and the rotors, and you'll see our pads are all the way out, basically to the end of their travel, so that tells us that these calipers are compressed. So now we have to go ahead and remove this pin here and this pin here, and those pins are basically what pin the brake pads here to the caliper. So once we go ahead and knock them loose, we're just going to use a punch, knock them loose, and these pads should come right out, or be loose enough to come out, and then we can go ahead right here and right here. These look like either 17s or 19s, and we can remove the caliper. Here we have our flat punch. Now your caliper hardware here is spring-loaded, so these will fight you coming out a little bit, but once you get them to a certain point, they should just walk right out. We are almost there. Okay, here's your pin. You're going to want to go ahead, clean this off, get it nice and clean and shiny, get all this dirt off of it, and then lube it back up. We're going to go ahead and remove the other one. Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to do is remove those two 17mm bolts that I showed you earlier on the back of the steering knuckle. So we're going to go ahead back here. One, be sure to hold the caliper. And with those pins removed, your caliper should come right off, along with your brake pads coming out, like so. And what we are going to do now is use this caliper hook, and we're going to go ahead and hang our caliper from the upper control arm. Make sure you unplug your brake pad wear sensor before you remove your caliper, because that's what I'm fighting with now. Let me show you what we got in just a second here. Alright guys, we got our old pads off here. You'll see here they are. You'll see just how little material we had left. But one thing I do want you to focus on there is where it says Brembo and then Toyota. So Brembo is the original supplier for these pads. Alright, now that we got those pads off, the wear sensors out of the way, we're going to go ahead and knock this rotor loose. On there pretty good. Don't wear flip-flops, but there we go. The rotor's off. Now all we have to do is go ahead and clean this hub and clean that mating surface. That way we can go ahead and put our new rotors on. So now that we got our rotor off, we're just using our wire drill here, and we're cleaning this hub surface up for the new rotors. Now these hubs are actually in pretty good shape on this car, so they really don't need much. There is just a little bit of surface rust that I want to go ahead and take care of while I have this off. We're going to go ahead and call that good. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab the right front rotor. We're going to slide it on, and then I'm just going to go ahead and screw a lug nut on to keep that rotor in place. These are some of the biggest rotors that I've ever had the pleasure of replacing. Now we're just going to go ahead Like I said, we're just going to put one lug nut on here. Alright, and then I'm just going to get a can of brake clean and a bucket here. And I'm going to spray that caliper down as best I can, clean it up. And then we're going to go ahead and install the pads into the caliper. I'll show you exactly how we do it. Alright guys, so what we have here is a piece of emery cloth. And we have these pins that we removed earlier. We're just going to go ahead and clean them with this emery cloth as best we can. They don't need to be perfect, but you do want them pretty clean. So we're just going to go ahead, a little bit of brake clean here. Okay, we're going to spray it on that emery cloth. And we're going to go ahead and continue to clean. All right. Okay, and we're going to call this good. We're going to go ahead and clean the second one off. Alright guys, so off camera we went ahead and installed our new wear sensor for the inner pad along with this metal clip. This is how you're going to want it in there. You can see these are the nice Brembo pads. So now we're going to go ahead and install these into the caliper, and then we're going to go ahead and slide the caliper back over the rotor. These literally will just slide right into place. And then you can go ahead, if you had your caliper hooked, and go ahead and remove that. And then slide your caliper back over the rotor like so, and then take your bolts and just get everything started. There we go. That fought me. Let me show you what we got here. Alright guys, so what we have here, you'll see both of our new pads are in. This is our hardware. These are spring loaded, so these come back down like this, and then our pins go here and here. We have to run our wear sensor, and then we went ahead and we snugged these two bolts down. So let's go ahead and run the wear sensor. We're going to put these pins back in, and we'll take it from there. Alright guys, so I went ahead and put this pin here back in just to show you how they go. You want it to be in just like this. It basically spring loads this clip. So we're going to do the same thing down here. Basically, it goes in from the back, and you tap it in while pushing this down. Right, so we can go ahead, get this started, making sure that it goes through both pads. Take our hammer here and just ever so gently, you'll hear it bottom out. So just like that, we are done on this side. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pump the brakes, fill this caliper back up with brake fluid, and then we're going to put the wheel back on and move over to the driver's side. One thing that I did not want to forget to mention is to be sure to reroute your brake pad wear sensor wiring correctly. So you'll see here we have ours here, comes through here, and plugs right in right here. So I am just going to pull this a little bit here, that way that looks a little bit neater, but we are ready to put this wheel on. Alright guys, so here are our old rotors. You'll see them both there. Here's some of our old pads. You'll see we went ahead and did this side off camera. Again, we cleaned these pins off, installed them back in. You'll see we got our hardware installed. We have our brake pad sensor installed, and everything here is ready to go. So we're just going to go ahead, throw our wheels back on, and we're going to go ahead and take our first spin. Alright guys, so we just finished doing the brakes on this. We're going to go ahead and start it up. The most important thing you can do after you finish doing your brakes, pump your pedal, fill those calipers back up, and then we are going to go ahead and drive the car and see how everything is. So prior to doing this brake job, we did not have any abnormal noises or vibrations. We simply had some worn out pads. So we're going to go drive it, make sure that we didn't create any abnormal noises or vibrations. And we're just going to check the overall performance here of these brakes. Now it is a little bit after 11 o'clock at night here, so we're going to try to be as respectable as possible pulling out of our neighborhood. But before I leave the driveway, I'm just going to hit the brakes. It stops, it coasts. The brakes do not feel like they are hanging up. They are releasing when I release them. So that is a good sign. So let's go ahead, make a left here out of our neighborhood. Everything here sounds good right now. Off the brakes, I'm not touching the brake pedal. I don't hear any hardware noises or any rotational noises or anything like that. If I hit the brakes, the car stops. I'm not hearing any noises. Now, one good thing about the Geo-spec rotors is because they come coated, they don't need to be oiled when they are in the packaging to prevent them from rusting. So you don't have to clean them. You don't really have to do anything other than, get in and drive. So that's just what we're doing now. We're going to go ahead and make a couple more stops, bed these pads in a little bit, get them, get the rotors a little bit hot, get everything nice and worn in, and we'll call it a day. So from what I can tell, those were the original brakes that we removed because they did have the Toyota stamps still on the pads. So it looks like the original owners of this car got 32,000 miles out of these brakes. Comment down below, let me know how you guys with the GS-F, ISF, RCF, IS500, or LC500. Let me know how many miles you guys got on your original brakes, because I'm kind of curious. Typically 30,000 miles is, I usually get more out of a set of brakes than that, but these are high performance brakes and I'm not sure if they wear any quicker because of that, so I'm strictly curious. But we're going to go ahead, we're coming out onto a straight road here. Let's accelerate a little bit, okay, and hit the brakes. The car stops straight, the car stops smooth, there is no pulling. There are no vibrations and there are no noises. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to call this repair or maintenance complete. So if this video helped you do the brakes on your Brembo, your Lexus with Brembos, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time. Actually, the fox just ran in front of me, but yeah, whatever. We'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.